Hey, Shayla, thanks so much for joining me today. This is the Agent Entrepreneur Podcast. This is a podcast that I put together to kind of show agents that are just getting into the business how to break through and how to run their business like a business. I really appreciate you joining me. Some stuff about you and I met you at the Christmas party, but I heard about you for years and years before. I've been in the business for 5 years, and all of your people say great things. I finally got a chance to meet with you, and I was like, I want to get to know who you are. So,
Same.
Yeah.
I had heard your name several times in the same week. And finally got to meet you in person. Yeah.
Yeah. You lived up to the hype. Well, today I really want to talk about, I want to start with a statement. Honestly, the way that the real estate market's working right now, the people who reach out to me, we were just talking about this, they're worried. They're scared about the market. They're looking for help, support. And you and I often talk about how we can help these people. And I think the best way that we can do it, and the way that we actually got to where we're at, is by selling a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So I hope we can just get right into it. But before we do, can you kind of break down who you are and why you're here? Like what got you to where you're at?
Yeah. Totally. I'm so excited we're going to talk about sales today.
Yeah.
I did not grow up being good at sales or ever think I was going to be in any kind of sales career. I don't think anybody grows up and say, someday I want to be a salesperson when I grow up. In fact, I really thought people who were in sales were cheesy or aggressive or pushy. And I never want to be that person. I'm highly analytical. I like calculus, physics, stats. You give me a calculator and I get turned on.
Nice.
So the interesting that happened for me is I went to college and studied accounting and finance. But the whole college scene was really not for me. I really wanted to get on with my life and make money and build something. And I felt like all the people around me in college were excited about the cake parties and the sorority house and everything else. So I ended up dropping out of college after 1 year and getting into sales.
Okay.
And I actually sold hair care, skincare, weight loss products. I had my own pyramid deal.
Nice.
But what got me excited was having the freedom and flexibility to do my own thing, to build something that was mine, to not have the limits imposed by this is how much you're worth. You work so many hours, you get paid so much. Because as it turns out, I'm actually a pretty bad hourly employee.
Yeah.
I had one of those jobs when I was 16 and I just worked as slow as possible. And I looked at the clock and dinked around doing my own projects on the clock for somebody else. But if all of a sudden I'm now commission only and I'm building my own business, I'm a freak. I work like a maniac and I'm super efficient, work hard and fast. So that's what turned me on at a young age. I didn't really sign up to be in sales, but obviously if you own your own business, the key function is sales, bringing in revenue. So I had to learn it early.
Okay.
And I wasn't naturally good at it. I didn't really understand people. I didn't understand how to build relationships. They say people choose you because they like you and trust you.
Right.
I didn't know the equation for having people even like me. I was so driven and focused that I didn't really focus on like making friends. I don't do small talk. So what carried me through was being competitive and realizing that, if I'm going to do something, I don't want to suck at it. Like I want to be really, really good at it. So when I realized early on, these were not natural skills for me, I started finding the people that were good, that were excelling, that were the best, and studying every little component about what they do and how they speak and what is their body language and, how much do they smile? How approachable are they? I studied men and women. I studied people of all ages. And I started trying these things and mucking it up and just getting out there, right?
Yeah.
And because I'm competitive and stubborn and also I had something to prove. I dropped out of college. I needed to make this work. And so that was my backstory. I did that for 3 or 4 years. I lived in the Midwest, born and raised here in Reno, but lived in Ohio, Indiana, Chicago, and didn't know anybody out there. I lived on an air mattress in a 1-bedroom apartment with 3 or 4 other people.
Yeah.
I did the stuff.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it was the best college for me.
Right.
Because I was already good at studying material, taking a test, getting an A, forgetting it, and moving on and doing all that. I'd already mastered that process through high school.
Yeah.
So to get into the real world and get my butt kicked and learn people and communication is like ultimately has become the best education I could have ever had.
Right on. Well, I hope we can educate some people today. Let's talk about actual sales techniques.
Yeah.
And let's just imagine that, we've got the greenest people, coming through. And where do they start? What do they do? What would you tell somebody who's getting into sales with you?
Great. Well, there's 4 parts to the sale.
Okay.
Every sale. So, I think the greatest sale is getting married, right? Is landing your partner for life.
Yeah.
So even that sale or down to selling anything, right? The first step is initial contact. It's, there has to be a meeting or an appointment or a first date to every sales process, to every partnership. So the first thing is, are you having enough initial contact? What I'm finding right now with all of my salespeople that I coach is we're not having enough appointments.
Yeah.
If you have a full sales week, if you work 40 hours a week, even if half the time is actual sales time, you're in green time, you're focusing on building relationships, pitching your product, discovering your customers, the whole piece. In 20 hours, you should be having at least 15 appointments per week.
Yeah.
Now I'm on the loan side, so that would be people for pre-qualifications, for pre-approvals, to referral partners, to educate. On the real estate side, it's the same. It's database, it's bankers, it's attorneys, it's friends and family, it's prospective buyers and sellers. So number one is, are you having enough initial contact?
Okay.
Because I learned really early, it's like a batting average. The best people in baseball that make millions of dollars have like a 35% batting average, which means that they strike out 6 or 7 times out of 10. They strike out. They don't even get on base. So in sales, it's the same thing. You got to have massive action, massive initial contact if you want to have massive results. So that's step number 1.
Okay.
And we can kind of break into that. Like, how do you get initial contact?
Let's unpack that. But I do want to point out something that I actually love about you just in general. But have you ever watched that movie Moneyball? I think it's what it's called. Moneyball?
I've not watched Moneyball.
Okay.
And I've wanted to.
It's about baseball, and it's about how this guy changed I think it was the A's. Forgive me if I misquoted that, but he just looked at the stats. They just tracked every at-bat average. They focused on improving 4 KPIs, and they won the championship.
Wow.
I do the same thing. I know that's something that we discovered about each other when we first had our actual meeting.
Yes.
It's I track everything. And I think that's a key way to drive it. I don't think you can move the needle if you're not looking at what you're doing. So
you're absolutely right.
Initial contact. How does that even happen?
Well, let's go through the 4 parts. So the second one is build rapport.
Sure.
So once you've got initial contact, we had a meeting.
Okay. How
does that go? Do we find a connection? Do we have a common bond? Did we, build rapport with each other, right? Do we actually like each other?
I want to interject there, and I want you to lay out what you think rapport is, because I think that's misunderstood in sales.
Well, I think it's like, when we like each other, what does that really mean? It means that we have shared values.
Okay.
So my top 5 core values are committed. I want to be around people who are committed to whatever it is that they're doing, that they're committed, that they're loving, that they choose love, they see love, they love other people, that they are striving for excellence in whatever they do. I love people who are striving to be the best and constantly improving. And then I want to be around people who are courageous, that are going to speak from their heart, that are going to do things that scare them, that are going to go for what they really want. And then I really like people who are choosing freedom, are really trying to pursue freedom in their life. And to me, freedom comes most by living close to our heart, by being able to say what's real, being able to pursue the things that really matter to us, to seek the truth. Some people, freedom is only financial freedom. I like that too.
I do too.
I like freedom of choices, but the most freedom to me is being able to say exactly how I feel and to be clean and clear with my heart and my head, and not going around life faking it or BSing or whatever else.
Yeah.
So when you and I meet, you strive for excellence. You are so committed. You are courageous as hell. I mean, you align with all 5 of those. You're really loving. I see you with your team. I see you with your family.
Well, thanks.
And of
Shayla.
course we're going for freedom.
Yeah.
So I think that building rapport is this discovery process of, are we in alignment? Do we believe the same things? Do we value the same things?
Okay.
Doesn't mean that we have to have the same goals. Doesn't mean that we have to have the same pace of play. It's kind of an energy exchange. Do we have energy that we like? And what's so funny right now is a lot of people I'm talking to are like, gosh, I'm just running into this. And I'm like, there are rad people out there. There's 6 billion people on this planet. There's awesome people everywhere. But you've got to get out there looking for awesome. And if you know what your ideal client is, and you know your ideal partner, and you know your values and what you care about, you spot them really quickly.
Right. Totally. I
in
agree.
minutes.
I agree. It's like when you buy a car and then you see the car. It's because you know
Yes.
what you want. And so those people just start gravitating towards you. So we've got number 2. What's number 3?
3 is the close,
Okay.
right? And in sales, we talk about closing skills all the time.
Yeah.
But it's legitimately asking for the next appointment. It's asking for the sale. It's asking for referral.
Okay.
It's saying, I like you. Here's my goals. Here's what I want. Can we do X, Y, Z?
Okay.
We can go into it and break it down, but it's really simple. It's just actually now asking.
Okay.
And then the 4th one is following up.
Right.
So you and I meet at the Christmas party.
Yeah.
Within minutes, we're like, boom, we see each other.
Yeah.
I like you. You like, like we need to meet. We
Right.
book the appointment.
Right. Correct.
We have our first meeting. I think it was an hour and a half. We could have sat there for 3.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
We build rapport. We talk about our goals. And then there's this this is what I'm looking to do. And I think, you asked me, I asked you, there's both of us. It's a win-win.
Right.
And then there's a follow-up. There's a next meeting.
Right. And it's like, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to do? Well, we're going to push this goal, this collected goal that we have between us forward every time. And I actually love it. I love when you and I meet because I feel like we really push the needle. What I don't like with meetings is when, it's like the balloon goes flat.
Yeah.
And you're like, it makes the sound and everything. And it's just like, what just happened here? What just happened here?
Well, I think the meetings that feel like a waste of time, which by the way, I want to clarify, I don't think there's ever wasted time in prospecting.
Okay.
Ever. I think people go, oh, I met with somebody and they weren't a valid prospect, or they weren't my price point, or they aren't going to do anything.
Yeah.
I think you're always building your relationship equity.
Yeah.
And that equity is what really pays us into the future. It's your identity and it's your reputation that will pay you far further into the future. So when I meet somebody, I'm not gauging, are they worth my time or not?
Right.
I'm gauging whether or not we have shared values.
Yeah.
Because if you suck, I'm not going to spend time with you.
Right.
But I'm not saying if you're not buying tomorrow, I'm wasting my time. Or if you can't refer me 5 deals, then you're not qualified. Because every person knows 100 other people.
Yeah.
And I always think people are never going to remember what you said. They're never going to remember what you did. But they always remember how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
So don't have a shitty meeting. Don't have the balloon go flat.
Right.
Whoever the person is, give them everything you got. Because even if there isn't much follow-up, even if there isn't a next meeting right now, that's your reputation. That person knows other people. So no wasted time.
Okay. I like all of it. I have a similar process. I have 5 steps.
Ooh,
can I share?
Me. Yes.
So I have the preliminary introduction. I think it's a contact sport. I think the longer you stay in sales, the tougher you get. And the people who complain about not, oh, this person did this or that. That's just one step closer to getting what you want. I got into the business doing cold calling, and there was 6 weeks where I didn't have a pickup. And then when I started getting a pickup, they started blasting me. And I was new and I didn't know anything. And they were just killing me. And that was because I was unprepared. So that's the other thing. You got to be prepared. But the introduction's awesome. I love the energy thing. And I think that as far as filling your pipeline, you need to know who you're looking for, and you need to fill that pipeline with enough opportunity where you don't have to worry about whether or not they blast you or they don't like you, because they're not for you. That's the beauty about having teams, is you might not be for me, but you're probably someone on my team probably is the right fit for you. So I think about that when I'm meeting people. Discovery, I think we said the same thing there, but learning what the problem is.
Yes.
Learning what the problem is the most important skill. And once you know what the problem is, then you can actually figure out how you can help. I love a relationship where there's an audible click, where there's a little probing going on, okay, you're cool, I think you're cool. You've got some skills, I've got some skills. Can we help each other? And then when we find it, the alignment, and you hear this, literally, you click.
Yeah. And
you can solve problems together. Once the relationship's there, you can start having tough conversations. That's hard. That takes skill, I think the other thing, so step 3 would be demonstrating value.
Yeah.
I've been focusing on that the meeting that you were at, that you just helped with, that was all about demonstrating value.
Yeah.
The industry is going through some changes, and I know everyone's talking about that too. And I don't think anyone who understands what value they bring to the table should be worried.
Yes. 100%.
And I think that value, your value, my value, is tied to the result. So as far as our fees or what we get paid, if we bring the result that they want, the fee is secondary.
Absolutely.
The other thing is obtaining commitment. So I call this in my group, I call it a signature decision, and this is the close. So whether they're doing a buyer co-op with us or whether they're signing a listing agreement, I measure my leads by how close anyone is to doing a signature decision. I think for you, what would that be in your process?
Well, most of the time when I'm thinking about prospecting, I'm thinking about building partnerships with people I want to do business with. So if I'm meeting with a divorce attorney, or I'm meeting with a banker, or I'm meeting with a real estate partner, what is it that their goals are? What are they looking to do? And then what are we going to do together to help them meet those?
Yeah.
And is there a mutual agreement to go to work on these things together? Right. And I think like for you and I, every time we meet, we walk away with like, okay, these are 2 or 3 things that we're going to execute on. Like, so we're almost signing a signature every time we meet. Yeah. Like these are, out of all the things that we talked about, these are the 2 things we're going to go to work on. And we're both almost like shaking hands, signing a signature to those things. With a client on the mortgage side, the best indicator for future income, and I think it's the same for a real estate agent, is a full pre-approval meeting. Is getting that client, I'm still not collecting any money. I'm still not signing a contract.
Right.
But somebody who's given me their time, they've taken time off work, husband and wife, they've driven across town, they've gathered their documents, they've uploaded them to the portal, or they're bringing them in to be copied right in front of you. They're taking time to learn about the process, discover all their options. Like that person is really far down the tracks versus, just being on a phone or anything else.
Okay.
And of course, once you lock the loan, there's a signature there. Once you close and sign loan docs, there's a signature there.
I know that's the thing that's tough about your side of the business is that they can jump ship. I don't like that. I don't like that. I was like, we could, let me draw this contract up for you. And you're like, I don't know if that'll fly, but I have 4 or 5 agreements that are not legal documents. Yeah. They are things that we're basically, you're hiring me. That's the discussion. I'm doing tons and tons of interviews still to this day, whether it's a partnership with you, whether it's getting hired by a client, I'm asking them that I represent them. So please sign here. And it's literally a Word document that says you hired, whatever. Yeah. So let's dig into some of the stuff that you were talking about, the sales process. What's the most important part of it? Is it closing for you?
I think it's discovery and finding the problem, like you said.
Yeah.
I think that I've noticed people lately have said, because here's what I love about sales. And here's why I still coach 20 years into this business, and I coach people in sales. People will go, will you be my life coach? I'm like, no.
Life coach?
Yeah,
I can see that.
No, I'm not. I'm into all the stuff. I'm into spirituality. Yeah. I'm into building wealth. I'm into health and wellness. I'm into all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But the reason I love sales is because once you set a goal and you go for it, all your shit is going to come up anyways.
Yeah.
All your insecurities, all of your tendencies to have avoidance or to be impatient or to overtalk and not listen.
Yes.
Your ego, all the stuff comes up.
Yeah.
And if you want that goal bad enough, you've got to wrestle and tackle with those things every single day. Yeah. And we're literally chiseling a better version of ourselves in pursuit of that goal.
Right.
Because every day we have the opportunity to be rejected, to be accepted, to be celebrated, to be valuable or not.
Yeah.
And so what I noticed, I coach a lot of people and they go into meetings, and I think the reason the balloon goes flat is they're sitting being mental the whole time.
Yeah.
Going, is he liking me? Am I doing okay? Was that all right?
Yeah.
Like that mental chatter will screw up everything.
Right.
So the first step is actually believing that you have value, that you can be helpful, that you can solve problems.
Yeah.
And I think that comes back to your character. You knew getting into real estate. You didn't come from real estate. You came from this crazy background of being at truck stops and
cell phone sales. I know.
And I'm doing loans, and I used to be selling vitamins, right?
Yeah.
But it goes back again to those basic fundamentals about your character. And for me, I know I'm committed. Yeah. I know that I'm an achiever. I will go to the end of the earth to figure out a way to solve a problem. I'm not going to leave somebody high and dry. I'm going to answer the phone when there's a problem. I'm going to always be optimistic and look for the positive and look for the opportunity and look for the win. A lot of this could be found really easily if you do a strength finder.
Okay.
You could go online, you can go to Gallup, and you can pay $20 and you can get a strength finder, and you'll see, like, are you intellectual? Are you deliberative? Are you woo? Can you make friends with a stranger? Like, what are your unique strengths? And then you have to really realize that those strengths serve to help somebody else reach their goal. And if that's my purpose in life, is just to go around and help people reach their goals and solve their problems and get the result, as you said, that they want.
Yes.
I have to go to a meeting saying, I'm the prize.
Yeah.
I'm the prize. I'm not here to see if you like me.
Right.
I'm here to see if I like you.
That's funny.
Do I want to invest in you, Lee? Do I want to spend time with you? Do I want to bring my commitment and achiever and time and energy to the table? And if we're in alignment, then hell yes, I do. Right. And is the problem within my scope?
Right.
That's the other thing. Because when you're new, we want everything, right? Like, oh, you want to buy a ranch? Sure. You want to buy a condo? Sure. You want to do a manufactured new build trailer to the thought? Sure. And we say yes to everything. But I think the more mature you get in your career, the more you go, I know what I'm really, really good at.
Yeah.
And I know what I have capacity for.
Right.
And I know what is kind of out of scope. And if you would have said to me in that first meeting, Shayla, I need you at my office 5 days a week from 9 to 10 every day, and we could blow it up. And I would have said, I want to do that,
right,
but it's not in my capacity.
Yeah.
And that's having the maturity to know what your scope is, what your level is.
Right.
And you're asking questions around the level.
Yeah.
Right. So
I get that.
Discovery is the most important, but I think to be a good, question asker, to be a good person at discovery, to be confident, it requires that belief in self first.
Okay. I agree. The reason why I say it's funny, I said it was funny because the whole "you're the prize" thing, I think the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I think the exact same thing.
Well, there's nothing better than sitting with two people that are being authentically themselves and who they are and what they're good at and what they believe. And often it's different. Your strengths are very different than mine.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that very first meeting, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much I could learn from you.
Same.
And you know how to do this and this and this and this. And you're sitting there looking at me going, Shayla, I could help you, tune this in your business. And I'm looking at the same on the other side.
Yeah.
That's freaking magic.
Yeah.
And that's why when
magic.
you and I have this meeting, it's like, these don't happen that often.
No.
This is really cool.
No, there's one other thing, and we'll dig into this process, and then I'm going to ask you more questions, a little more personal.
Okay.
But we both focus on volume. So I specialize with investors specifically, and then just helping your everyday person. Yeah. And you do too. That was something I was looking for. I look for high volume. I don't really care if the unit is small and so deal, sale, but I call them units.
Yes.
Whether it's small or big, because I think the same thing. I helped as many clients as I possibly could for 2 years, and then I didn't have to lead generate anymore, basically. I just had to take care of my database. And I believe that same thing for all the people that work with me, and your team believes the same thing. So that's part of that alignment. But let's talk about this sales process here, and let's try and help people. Let's get under the hood real quick. So we've got the introduction. What do you say? You and I now, we've been in this business, or we've been in sales for a very long time. I think we're good at it.
Yeah.
What about someone who's not good at it? I mean, I hear a lot.
We're talking about initial contact.
Initial contact.
Yeah.
And I like to talk about this with you. This is one of the reasons why we teamed up, or why I sought you out, honestly, is because the whole male-female thing in sales is very complicated.
Yeah.
So let's say you're a girl or a guy meeting with someone by yourself of the opposite sex. How do you do it in a natural way? How do you appear professional? And then how do you push the needle forward? Let's talk about that.
Well, this is a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I think, first of all, you've got to think about your identity. What do you want your identity to be? What do you want your reputation to be? What do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room?
Sure.
Or how do you want people to refer you? Have you actually written that out? A buddy of mine just made me do this the other day, and it's been a long time. And I've been heavily focused on growing my team and recruiting and talking to loan officers all over the country. And I thought, okay, if Lee were to refer me to a loan officer and he were to say, you've got to go talk to Shayla Gifford, what would I really want him to say about me as a leader? The way that I care, the way that I lead, the way that I show up, the result I'm going to help you get? Like, how would I want you to sell me or pitch me or introduce me?
Yeah, tell me.
It's the same thing with a realtor talking to a customer, like when you finish the transaction, what do you hope that they would say about you to their coworkers, to their friends and family? And we have to think about that first, like at the very beginning. What kind of a professional are you going to be? What are you going to be known for?
Right.
Do you hold somebody's hand? Do you educate? Are you just hilarious?
Yeah.
Are you super available? All of these things work, especially if you're consistent and thoughtful about it.
Sure.
Right? Like there's certain people I want to work with them just because they're freaking fun.
Yeah. Same.
They are so fun.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not one of those people. I don't think you and I go for the fun thing. I mean, I think
we're kind of nerdy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think work is fun, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where, people are just a joy.
They're a joy.
They change the room. They change the room dynamic. With me, it can get heavy. You know what I mean? Like I'm like,
yeah, you and I could get nerdy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like let's do some stuff. Okay.
So I could go into the sidebar of what I want you to say, but I think that.
Well, can I tell you what I said?
Yeah, let's hear what you say.
I've sent you some people.
Okay.
So I honestly, if someone is saying that they're in a bottleneck and they're a lender and they are struggling in their business, I tell them to talk to you because you've scaled and you've exited, but you're still involved in the business. And I think that there's no one better to teach that than you. Also, you're very upfront, clear, and you have a good system for accountability. And I'm a big believer in that. I'm a huge believer in that. And I know you know that.
Yes.
I'm the same way. And I think that people who seek that out are serious and ready. And I honestly, there's tons of people who talk to me and you, and sometimes they're not ready for either of us.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I've learned I'm very intimidating.
Yeah.
So when you talk about approaching people, what I care about is that people feel comfortable with me.
Yeah.
And most importantly, they feel like she gets it.
Okay.
If I had to boil it down and I walked into a room and I'm sitting down with somebody who wants to list their home, or I'm sitting down with somebody who's running they're a divorce attorney, or I'm sitting down with somebody who wants to buy, I want them to believe I see you, I hear you, I know what's up for you, and she gets it.
Okay. I like that.
I've always wanted to be competent.
Yes.
It's very important to me. And I think part of that is because, I realize I'm a blonde chick. And there's, I just started watching the Barbie movie last night. It's so funny.
It's funny, right?
Yeah.
I watch that with my kids.
I just know that there's societal wise or whatever that somebody could say, oh, I was 23 when I started, for goodness sake. So I look like a baby and I'm a blonde chick. So am I going to be somebody that just flips my hair and wears too low of a shirt and, too high of high heels or whatever? And I'm trying to make my way that way. Is that the reputation I'm going for? And the answer is no.
Right.
I want, listen, if you're good looking, use it.
For sure.
Right? Like, dress nice, dress well, smell good. We all need to do that.
Yeah.
Right? But realize like, hey, I've got a great smile that disarms people. Freaking use it. Hello,
Yes.
Use your assets.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that's just opening the door. The bigger question is, once you open your mouth, once you listen, once you take notes, once you lean in, do people go, wow, this person is competent? Like he gets it. Like, wow. That's the reputation I've always gone for. So what am I doing in the background to prepare for that? To show up to that meeting to go, wow, she gets it.
Okay.
She's driven the community. She understands the competition. She understands what it's like to be me, who's the owner of this, general construction company or a builder, and the liability that I have and the risk that I have and the goals that I have. If they feel like you're on the level, you understand it, it's really important. And there's certain things you're just not going to understand, but you can have empathy and compassion.
Sure.
When I was 25 and I'm talking to a 50-year-old who's losing their house in the Great Recession, the house that they built and raised their kids in and all this. I don't know what that's like. I've never personally been through it.
Right.
But I can be a really good listener. I can stay connected with them. I can repeat back what they just said. I can share stories of success from other clients and other people.
Yes.
And they can feel like, all right, this is a person that will stay committed and will get the resources for me that I need.
Okay.
Not that they've done it before. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And I think that's why you being on a team and having a team is so critical, because you can't possibly have all the experience. In fact, after 19 years, every other day, somebody brings me a scenario I've never heard of before.
It keeps us good, though.
It keeps us good. But this is where I think new people constantly want to have all the answers.
Oh, yeah.
One of the key barriers to sales is perfectionism.
Yeah,
Like I feel
totally.
like I need to know everything before I go take that meeting or that appointment. Again, they're hiring you because of your character, and you have to be resourceful to say, that's a great question. You know, I had a meeting yesterday with a really respected business person that wanted to put together a partnership. I didn't have all the answers going into the meeting, and I knew it.
Yeah.
But I came out of the meeting and I immediately had 3 calls and knew who to call and had the questions and,
Right.
you know,
I like
do
that.
the follow-up. Yeah.
I think that the competence and the confidence are like interconnected. I think if you work on your skills enough and you put enough into yourself and you role play, you practice, I think that you'll be confident, but the confidence is cool. I like that a lot. So let's talk about different objections.
Okay.
So what are some popular objections? And feel free to throw some at me. I'm always ready. But what are the things that you think stump? Is that the right word? You know, our salespeople.
So let's first talk that we're going to go after first-time home buyers.
Okay.
Because 30 to 40% of sales are happening with first-time home buyers. There's 72 million millennials that are between the ages of 28 and 38.
How many?
Like 72 million. It's the biggest population that exists. It's alive at this point.
Wow.
That this is the homeowners right now.
Interesting.
The average age of a first-time home buyer is now 34 years old. And we've got this huge wave of people that are at millennial. The reason that we aren't going to see a major housing crisis or a big retraction is because of just straight supply and demand.
Right.
And you have 72 million millennials that are turning 34 every single day, and you don't have the housing supply. We didn't build houses through the downturn, so we're 4 million housing units short. And then you've got, what is it, like 70% of the homeowners have an interest rate at 4% or less that aren't going to sell. Like there's a supply and demand fundamental that's going to keep housing strong. So let's just pretend that that's the thing. So if I'm a real estate agent, every single person that I'm meeting or running into at the grocery store, at the bank, at the bar mitzvah, at the baseball game, I'm talking to them about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and what excites me.
Okay.
So again, if you haven't thought about this, if you're just Johnny Realtor and you're going, oh, hey, what's new with you? Oh, yeah, I got my real estate license. Cool. How's it going? Well, I'm just getting going so far.
I'm just getting going. Yeah.
Balloon went flat.
It really sucks.
Right?
Real estate
Like,
really, some people say that. It's so hard. It's like, don't tell people that.
Yeah.
Please.
So I think, the next level of that would be, hey, I just got my real estate license. I could not be more excited about being in real estate. Or, hey, I just hit my 5-year mark in real estate, and I'm really proud of that. You know that 95% of people that are self-employed fail within the first 5 years.
Yeah.
And so I've made it. I'm 5 years in the business, and I'm telling you, it's tough out there. It's a unique market. It's very interesting, but I'm really stimulated. I'm solving problems. I'm getting things done that wouldn't get done. I've got people on my team every day that are having success, and it's keeping me inspired. Right? Nobody wants to talk to somebody who's
I know.
or negative or pessimistic or did you see the news? I mean, boo.
Yeah,
Like, just don't say
seriously.
anything.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
don't talk about the news.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So why do you do this? What are you proud of? What are you excited about? How do you stimulate curiosity in that other person?
Okay.
That's a great sales technique.
Yeah.
Is like, when somebody says, how's the real estate market? If you just start puking on them, like, what does that do?
Right.
So it would be like, well, why do you ask, Lee?
Why did I ask?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about buying a house.
Awesome. Have you been engaged in it yet? Like, have you been looking at houses? Like,
I've
where
been
are you in
doing
the
a lot
process?
of flicking on Zillow, but I'm intimidated by the process.
Yeah.
I do hear the news, and basically what it's telling me is that I have no hope.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a few late bills. I have some credit card debt, and I don't think I'm ready.
Have you been through a pre-approval? Have you actually gotten your credit pulled and taken a look at the whole picture?
I've heard that if you do that, it lowers your credit score.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of want to get things ready and then maybe think about it.
Yeah. Do you know what your purchase price would be or what you could budget to afford on a monthly basis?
That's a good question. I don't, but I like the homes that are about $500,000. So if I could afford one of those and, I could have a path to get there, I'd do it.
And are you living with family? Are you renting? What do you got going on now?
I'm renting an apartment off of Vista. right by the Safeway over there.
Okay.
So I'm paying, and here's the thing, I'm paying like $2,800 a month for a 2-bedroom.
That's so tough.
Yeah, I'm just trying to change it. I'd rather put that into myself, but I just don't. I'm just scared.
I get it. I would be scared too if I looked at the news and I'd never done this before.
Yeah.
I mean, I even help clients all the time that this is their second or third transaction, and every time it's vulnerable. It's often the largest transaction we ever do.
Sure.
You know, everyone talks about it. It's the American dream. We all want to own a house so that we can control our destiny and we don't have to be dependent on a landlord, and we can lock in our payment and have it fixed, and we can, you know, make it ours and remodel it and paint it and do whatever we want. We can have a dog in the backyard. We can have stability for our future family. Like, everybody gets that part of it.
Yeah.
But it does feel overwhelming and scary, especially when the news is talking about, is this the worst time to buy, or what's going on with the rates or whatever. So, I totally understand where you're coming from. I felt the same way too, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I bought a house, it's now going on 19 years ago, and it feels like yesterday. Those emotions are like big. It's a huge life moment. It really is.
Nice.
Are you open to some professional advice?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I really think would help you the most, because getting out of the emotion into a plan, having a plan of action and feeling like confident and focused, is really getting the data.
Okay.
It's getting the facts. And so what I would say is getting together with my loan officer.
Okay.
They don't have to do a hard pull of your credit. They can do a soft pull, which does not affect your score at all.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that.
Generally speaking, a mortgage inquiry is not going to hurt your credit, because the mortgage bureaus understand that a mortgage is a big thing. You are going to have an inquiry and maybe a couple inquiries depending on how long the process goes.
Okay.
Where credit inquiries hurt you, Lee, is when you go to the mall and you apply for a store credit card at Apple and Victoria's Secret and Macy's and whatever. It looks like you're going on a spending spree and going into debt really fast.
Okay.
If you had one singular mortgage inquiry, that's not going to ding your credit score. But anyway, even if you want to avoid that, my loan officer can pull a soft pull on your credit and still see where you're at. So generally speaking, having a 15-minute conversation and sharing your goals and your fears around your credit, your job history, what your goals are for monthly payment, how much cash you have saved or where you could get it from, whether it's parents or a gift or whatever, all of a sudden it'll start crystallizing for you and you'll see where you're at. And so many people that I've gone through the process with, including myself, went from thinking there's no way I'm ready to going, oh my gosh, like I can do this.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool journey to get there. And the people that don't think they're ready and they're not quite ready, now they at least know exactly what they have to do to get there. And now they've got a path, and 6 months don't go by if you're still wondering if you're ready. Okay. So would you be open-minded for me to make an introduction over text to my loan officer and have them give you a call over the next day or so?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So how'd I do?
You did good.
I played realtor.
Yeah, you did good. You're good. You'd be a good realtor. I can offer. You want to switch it up?
Yes, I would love to switch it up. Okay. So do you want to pretend that you're meeting me at a networking event, or I'm now the millennial?
Yeah. Yeah, let's say that we have mutual friends.
Oh, okay.
And then let's just say I called you, since that's what we're asking our people to do.
Ooh, good. Okay. So you just got my name from a mutual friend or something like that.
I got your I sent you a text. This is how I normally do it. Let's say you actually give me a referral.
Okay.
And then we do a 3-way text, just like what you were referring to.
Okay.
You agree to talk to me.
Okay.
That's it.
But so I'm like, I was referred to you by my mom.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
You know my mom from your former job or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Hey, is this Shayla?
Yeah, this is Shayla.
Shayla, this is Lee Stevens. I'm a friend of your mom's. I met her at Safeway. We used to work together. And she said that you were in the process, or you had some questions about the home buying process.
Yeah, that's so cool that she referred me. She said you're a great guy, Lee.
Oh, thanks. So tell me a little bit about what's going on.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, I've been wanting to buy a house for a long time. My parents have been telling me, do it, do it, do it.
Yeah.
But it just feels like, over the last year and a half, the goalpost keeps moving.
Oh,
Like
I get that.
I got into it early last year and then looked at some houses, rates went up and then they ran up again. And, the amount I could qualify for kept, changing. And so I just got really discouraged.
I get that.
And I've just been waiting. I kind of feel like I've got to wait till the rates come down so I can actually afford something that I'd want to buy.
Okay. Where are you living right now? What's the situation there?
Yeah, so I'm living in Damonte Ranch. I'm renting a room from a friend.
Okay.
I'd love to be in South Reno because I just feel comfortable down there. It's close to my work. And, and if I could, I'd love to have a single family.
Okay.
Because I have a dog and, I just have a dream of gardening.
All right.
So that's where I'd want to be. But I don't feel like I can afford it at this moment.
I currently live in South Reno. I always wanted to live there. My journey was that I bought something in Sparks first, and then I lived there for a while, sold it, and then got to South Reno.
Okay.
Is that something that you'd be open to, or do you really need to be in South Reno out the gate?
I guess I'd be open to it. I think that every goal has sacrifices.
Okay.
I really honestly haven't looked further there, but I do know I hear from people like that they buy a house and build up equity and then move. I just don't understand how that would work.
Well, I'd love to help you out. I'd love to meet with you eventually. But real quick, describe to me what it would look like if you stayed in your current situation for another year. So you're renting a room. Do you have enough space?
No, it's not an ideal situation.
No?
I keep going from one short-term thing to another short-term thing because I don't want to sign a 1 or 2 year lease in an apartment. That's not where I want to be. So yeah, if the rates don't come down in the next 6 months, I'm likely still here. If my friend will let me keep renting a room, I might have to get scrappy or move back with my mom. I don't know. But yeah, I don't see a lot changing if I don't, buy a house.
Well, I've been there, and I can tell you that if you just stay focused on the goal with me, that I can get you out of that situation. There's going to be a lot of different news and headlines and a lot of free advice. I always tell people, beware of the people with tons of free advice, especially if they haven't done what you're trying to do. And I've done what you're trying to do. And I have a path for you that would be really exciting. So I was curious if you'd be open to meeting me for some coffee. I'll go over a couple of different options that we have. And then if you like one of those options, I'd love to show you a house and just get you into one and see what you think. Is that something that you'd be up for?
Yeah. Are the options, you're going to show me options of different houses I could afford, or what do you mean when you say show me options?
Well, I'm going to discover where you're at currently. So honestly, I'm going to ask you about your financial situation a little bit. So I kind of want you to prepare for that.
Okay.
And no matter what it is, Shayla, I just want you to be honest with me.
Okay.
When I bought my first house, my credit score was under 600.
Okay.
I only had $6,000 in the bank.
Okay.
And my plan, it took me about 8 months to get where I needed to be. So I just kind of want to set the expectation that I'm not going to try and sell you anything or push you into anything.
Okay.
I'm going to try and understand your situation and figure out a plan to best move you forward, still hitting your goals and getting you out of that 1-bedroom apartment.
That's awesome. Okay.
So,
I'd love to have coffee with you.
All right, great. I am free Tuesday or Thursday at about 10. Which day works better for you?
I don't think I could leave work at 10 either day.
Okay.
Is there some other time?
Yeah, I can do weekends by appointment only.
Okay.
I'd be happy to meet you. What day, Saturday or Sunday?
Well, I'd actually be willing to meet after work if that's better too, if it's better than your weekend.
Yeah. What time do you get off?
I get off at 5.
At 5? Okay. Yeah, let's do Monday at 5.
Cool. Okay.
All right, see you then.
You did a great job.
Thanks.
I like how you put by appointment only on Saturday or Sunday. You're already setting the stage. I'm a professional.
Yes.
I'm not just available all the time. I also like that you had a valuable meeting that you're pitching. You weren't immediately saying, well, why don't you talk to a lender and see if it's worth my time?
Right.
You were going to that initial contact and having an appointment.
Yeah.
And so if you were to meet me at Starbucks and we were to go through your plan, how long is that meeting? And then what's the next step?
It's about 30 minutes, usually about 30 minutes. It could be less. I mean, sometimes people are loaded.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's my 3 houses that I want. And sometimes I get them into contract, but most of the time it takes about 30 minutes if we're talking about a first-time home buyer. And then I mentioned a lender. I only do one. I don't know if it's a rule or something. I know we've talked about this many times, but I believe in a strong referral relationship. That's how I built my business.
Yeah.
And I plant the seed there. There's a video. I mean, we're getting into it a little bit, but there's a video that your team has done for me where I'll just shoot that over to them. This is the person that you're going to meet if you want to.
Yeah.
I leave it real relaxed. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for the love look. I'm looking for, I mean, actually,
Yeah, I
when
give you the love look.
yeah, when your eyes light up. When someone goes into a house and they see that, that's when you ask for the appointment for the lender. If you ask for it before they're in love, they're not going to do it.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah, meeting with you and or your team, I mean, or me. We're kind of like dentists. I mean, for me, for realtors, it's like I'm a sleazy car salesman. That's the thing. So I'm constantly trying to bust that apart. And for you, it's like an audit. It can be like an audit. So in order to to walk on those coals with you,
yep,
they've got to be in love with something.
Yeah.
So that's
they got to have the why. That's so good.
Yeah. And then
I think that over the last 4 or 5 years, we haven't had to be salespeople.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We've not had to be salespeople. And
order takers.
It just occurred to me as I'm doing this Fanatical Prospecting Challenge and we're reading the book Fanatical Prospecting.
Yeah, I love that book.
That the reason that people will get out of this industry, loan officers and realtors alike, is not because they can't survive on one transaction a quarter or one loan a month. It's that they literally wake up one day and go, I am not a salesperson. I don't like to eat what I kill. I don't like to go from appointment to appointment to appointment and have multiple people in different sequences and manage their emotions and every day go, how can I meet new people? How can I have initial contact? How can I close? Like the art and science of sales, they don't want to do it because let's be real. If you and I were talking 2019, 2020, 2021, the process would be very different. You have this phone call, you do this feel, felt, found. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. What I found was, you do X, Y, Z, and that'll help you on the process. And it's a 5 to 7 minute phone call, which is basically, hey, the next step is you need to meet with the loan officer and get pre-approved.
Right.
And that's what realtors were doing, which is, and often not even doing a 3-way text.
I know.
Not even doing a strong recommendation so that there's accountability on the other end for that person to follow up 7 times. It was just like, here's a noodle, throw it at the wall, call them.
Right.
And they don't even track the lead.
I know.
Or, I mean, it's just, anyway, but you could survive and do a decent amount of business that way because the product was so good.
Yeah.
The rates were so there. There was an abundance. There was enough houses-ish, right? And enough leads. There was enough leads is the truth. There was enough interested people that were qualified that you could treat that way. So what I love about what you said that's real in this current environment is you've got to do more work to make the same or less money.
Oh, yeah.
And there will be markets where we don't have to do as much work to make the same. But again, what is your reputation? What are you building? What do I want somebody to say about Lee or me? And wow, I was really scared. He took the time to sit down with me. He demonstrated a whole path of how I make this happen. He even went out and showed me a property before I was qualified and got me to really start feeling and seeing what this was like for me.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be referred that way? Now that next person, how much easier it is to close that person because they came highly referred to you because you put in the work on the first one.
Yeah. I want to get back to your sales call. I want to go through that. But there was one thing I remember when I was in sales coming up. I was pretty good at the cell phone deal. And I asked my district manager at the time, his name's Phil. He's still around here. I hope he's watching this. And I said, what would you do if you had to hit the sales floor? Could you still do this? And he told me, and this stuck with me. I mean, it's still in me right now. He said that he would do anything, whatever it takes. He would work at McDonald's. He would do a double shift. He would still study and work on his skills, which he constantly did anyway. And he would go hit the floor and do whatever he needed to do to hit his goal.
Yep.
I'm the same way.
I'm the same.
I know. Well, you're a rhino.
Yes.
I'm a tree. A tree always grows to its full potential. And that's the whole thing with as far as identifying like how you're going to do it and how hungry you're going to be. You've got to really, really be all in. Now, your sales call or role play that we did, there was a couple of advanced tactics that you used that I want to point out to the audience. One was the probing question. So not just asking questions, doing discovery. I think if you meet enough people and I think if you do some discovery, you should make it. You should make 100K. Okay. Please, guys, make 100K. Yes. That's what I want. That's like level
minimum.
1. Yeah, exactly. That's so just so everyone understands that about you and I. Level 1 is 100K. But I think to get through that, focusing on the pain a little and talking to them about their vision and staying in that environment, I think that was good.
Yeah.
Your energy was good. I mean, oh my gosh. So a lot of if you join my team, I record all the calls. I know that's a little weird. I don't record all of your calls, but the sales calls I do. And here's an example of one, okay? And it's like, is this Shayla?
Yes, this is Shayla.
And this is Lee. I got your number from your mom, and I just thought I'd give you a call. I'm sorry. I can't even do it right.
You can't even do it.
No, but I mean, did you guys feel that? Okay.
That sucked. Yeah.
Yeah. So your energy's everything. And I think that you put that through, whether it's the phone or the person, I think it comes through. And you've got to be you times 2. That's what I tell my people.
Yeah, you times 2. And I think you've got to match and model the tone. Like I was calling reverse mortgages leads in my own database 2 days ago.
Yeah, I believe
I'm calling Judy, who's 82 years old. So I slow down my tone, my pace.
Yeah.
I talk more softly. And if she's at a level 4, I'm at a level 6.
Right.
If I'm meeting with somebody who's a level 9, I'm bringing it at an 11. So just match and model and bring your enthusiasm, because, when I started in sales was like, every voicemail, I was like, whoa, slow it down. Make sure you articulate.
Yeah.
Make sure they can hear. And like, if somebody's at a level 4, maybe they're just half sick.
Yeah.
It's not that they're a person that walks around at a 4, but that's just where they're at today.
Right.
And I'm meeting them with where they're at.
Yeah.
You and I, just getting on microphones, we step up a notch because that's appropriate.
Sure.
Versus when we're having lunch, versus when we're like playing pickleball, which we don't do.
Yeah, I know. I'd be down. I don't even know how to play pickleball.
I know, me neither.
It's like tennis, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna finish off this sales conversation and then go into a little bit more about you. But I think that as far as the closing stuff, I think that you need to focus on the payoff before you ask for the close. So Shayla, as far as you find in the house, if we can get you into that big yard and that 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, are you ready to move forward?
Yes, absolutely.
So you go for the probe, the long-term probe. So have them imagine how much pain they'll be in. I know that's a little rough, but
if I stay the same, here's the pain. You did
pain.
really good at that.
And then the payoff, and then the close. And you should be able to get more appointments. The only 2 things I track on the team, I mean, I track everything, I do, but the things that I look at on a daily are the phone calls they make and the appointments they make.
Yeah. And
that usually is a good indicator of their pipeline.
Absolutely.
I love that. That was fun. I've never done the sales.
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that this is where sales basics has to get to is, do you have a buyer presentation? Do you have a path?
Right.
What I'm realizing is that most salespeople won't book an appointment or ask for the appointment if they can't imagine what they're actually going to do in the appointment.
Yeah.
You and I have done this long enough where we could wing it, right? We can go, oh, I have enough stories to pull from my vault, or I have enough, I can bob and weave with somebody.
Right.
But the truth is, to be really confident about setting an appointment, we have to be prepared to say, well, how is this going to benefit the person?
Right.
Right. So that's just super important. And I know that you do that for your team. You have a very specific listing presentation. You have a buyer's presentation. You have a goal setting options presentation. I can't say enough how important that is, and the fact that you've done the work and you're constantly tweaking it and perfecting it. And there's a psychological process through it that creates safety and comfortability and trust.
Yeah.
It's important.
I focus on taking away the mystery and understanding what outcome you want from this meeting. So that's what we constantly talk about. And then they call me when they hit an objection. I'm available by text. I'm available for my people for overcoming objections.
That's awesome.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. I mean, we should dig into it a little more we could do something else. I don't know if it's a podcast or some sort of, video, maybe a YouTube video. We haven't done one of those yet, but about our different presentations.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool.
That'd be super cool.
Well,
it's the same thing like with your mortgage lender, whoever your preferred loan officer is. Do they have a pre-approval presentation? Is it the same every single time?
Right.
Customize to that person, of course, but the point is do they have an intentionality and components so that you get a consistent experience?
Oh, yeah.
And so that if we run into a conversion issue, we can go back to the process. What about the process? What was still left a mystery? What still had them hesitant? Because if you do the meetings right, we should get people from over here of I'm scared and I'm listening to the news and I'm not sure to now I'm educated, empowered. I've got urgency. I know exactly what the next step is. And they're taking that next step in the sequence.
Yeah.
So as a salesperson, like, can you get the appointment? Then how do you perform at that appointment?
Right.
And just becoming obsessed with those little things, you block and tackle and do that enough times, you'll be the best there ever was.
Yeah.
And what I love about this market, just finishing on that, is that it's right for people who are committed to doing those things.
Yeah.
All the people who have been winging it, all the people who are not going to slow down and take the time and come to the trainings to learn those things, they're going to just get smoked.
Oh, yeah.
By the people that are doing those basics well.
Yeah, I think it's understanding. Like we started this conversation with your 4 steps to the sales process.
Yeah.
So if you're at LO on your team and there's an issue, whether it's like they're not hitting their goals or not making enough appointments, it's the problem is with one of those 4 things.
Yes.
Like for me, it's the same. I have 5 things. Okay. It's like the exact same things, but what one of those things do you need help with? Right. And it's usually plain as day.
Right.
And then are you ready to hear it?
Yes.
And are you ready to make the change?
Yes.
And then the other thing is like we've been around long enough to where they think that you and I repeat ourselves often. But just because we do that doesn't mean that they know it.
Right.
If they knew it, they'd be flying high.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I tell people. And some of my team, honestly, some of the best people on my team are the most stubborn.
Yeah.
You know, so it's rough. You know?
So I'm at the surf ranch last weekend and I'm with a surf coach and I'm getting ready for this perfect wave to come. And he said, do you want to push into the wave? I'm like, yes. Like you're here, you're a surf coach. You could push me into the perfect spot in the wave. Like it's already hard enough to stand up on this wiggly board and I've got a barrel coming at me and it's, you know, like that's hard enough. I'd love a push, please.
Okay.
Right. But it's amazing how many people won't take a push.
No, you're right.
It's unbelievable. And he said in real life at the surf ranch, especially men are like, oh, no, I surf. I don't want to push. And I'm like, that is a big missing piece. And he said, but Shayla, here's the deal. You have to first acknowledge your level in order to get better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's amazing. Because for me with surfing, I don't have any
What's your level in surfing?
qualms. Yeah. I like people ask, do you surf? And I'm like, well, is it in the ocean or at the perfect surf wave? You know?
Are these manufactured waves or is it
and I think in sales, there's not enough of this role playing. There's not enough of this coaching. There's not enough of, hey, Lee, will you listen to me, do calls for 20 minutes and give me your honest feedback? We're so afraid of being embarrassed or getting our feelings hurt or whatever the case is. But like, that is where real growth happens and knowing your level. Like, okay, I talked to 10 people and I land 1 appointment.
Right.
Yay. But how could you land 2 or 3?
Yeah.
What is that missing piece? And if we just get that self-awareness and then ask for the feedback and then do it, execute, like life changes.
Yeah, I agree. I really started breaking through some of the barriers when I became aware of myself and open to being vulnerable. And that's hard for dudes to do. Okay. So especially like when I talk to my guys, I've only got 5 of them because this is how I do it. It's more touchy feely than anyone's used to, but I get into their mind. I reinforce, you know how it is.
Oh yeah, I do.
And it's different, but if you're open for it, it'll change your life. It really will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's do this interview part. So we got the origin story going on. What are some of the goals that you're pursuing right now? They don't all have to be work related. What's something cool? You know?
Yeah, this is really fun because this is like annual goals. So this year I had a goal to go to 4 concerts.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not generally somebody who goes to concerts, and every time I go to one, I'm like, why don't I do this more?
Cool.
So check that off. I think I've hit like 6 this year so far.
Okay.
I want to go on 4 hikes and have 4 happy hours with girlfriends.
Okay.
So when we do our wheel of life and we say, you know, money, spirituality, work, friendships, love life, self, friendships have often been ranked pretty low for me because I've been so hyper-focused on driving success and then hyper-focused on building a family. And, you know, there's only so much you can balance at one
Those sound
specific
good to
time.
me. Yeah.
So, Yeah. So it was, so putting these kind of very measurable goals out there is really important to me. This year, so we'd been living in Europe for a couple of years, and I was working remote. So we're back in Reno as of basically end of last year. And so this year I said, I want to go on, I think I said 3. Maybe I said 4 alone trips with Galen, just him and I.
Nice.
Because during COVID and living abroad, like we did everything together as a family.
Yeah.
And so really spending that time. So, check. We've done that as well. And now we're booking 1 or 2. So it's really cool that when you set a goal, how momentum really kicks into gear. And it seems so silly for me to go, I'm going to, go on 4 hikes with girlfriends. But if it's not in your peripheral, if you're not even thinking about it, the opportunities just slip on by.
No.
Let's see. What else? Hire 8 loan officers this year. I think I'm at 6.
Okay.
So now I'm wanting to jack up the goal to like 12.
Yeah, you got that.
And what are some other goals? I mean, really presence and honesty are something I think about a lot. My self-worth, a lot has been tied to my productivity. My mantra, if you will, is people value me for my performance. And that's something that I've said since I was little, because I got love and praise based on getting an A on a paper or scoring a goal or slamming the volleyball or something. So I really have been addicted to performing.
Okay.
And I've, conditioned myself to believe people don't care about what you did yesterday. It's about what they're doing for them today. And it's a way that I kick myself in the butt to stay on my toes and to deserve my success, right? But at some point, those mantras can be limiting.
Yes.
And for me, feeling like I always, always, always have to be productive and performing takes me away from being the kind of mom that I want to be, that can be patient and playful and present, and takes me away from being the friend I want to be, where I can be chill and giddy and silly and vulnerable and all those things.
That's cool. Those are great goals. That's awesome.
So the new mantra is that people value me for my presence and the honesty and love that I share with them.
Okay.
So it's a switch from having to be productive and performing all the time to being present and honest with people.
I like that.
Yeah. So
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. What about as far as people in your life?
Yeah.
Who's made the biggest impact on you?
That's hard because life is lived in phases, right? So
let's talk about phase 2.
Phase 2 is that?
That's
now?
I just
what is
threw
phase
that out.
2?
I know.
Yeah. Have you ever gone through decade by decade and said, like, what was I about? First of all, Galen's been talking about this whole thing that life's lived in 7-year cycles.
Okay.
And it's been really fun to think about, because between the age of 7 and 14, we had this certain focus. And then from 14 to 21, what we're thinking about, the people we're hanging around, the goals we're pursuing. Then think about from 21 to 28, like that was definitely a cycle. That was, when you're meeting your mate, you're dating aggressively, whatever the case is, who got married.
Dating aggressively. I remember that.
You're on it. Yeah.
More leather jackets in my life.
Hell
I had
yes.
2, yeah.
And then 28 to 35, that was a really intense cycle. I mean, that's when we had both of our children, and you're like just not sleeping, and you're trying to balance building careers and building family, and holy cow, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm breaking my body down. I'm in pain all the time. I'm sick every 3 weeks. It was just hell, but it was a phase, to survive through and grow through. And then I just finished 35 to 42. And that was like, okay, now I'm more established.
Yeah.
Now, maybe I'm not trying to prove myself, but I'm trying to like heal old wounds, and I'm trying to like be firmly grounded in who I am authentically and how I want to show up, and living my life instead of making other people happy. Yeah. Right. And now I'm 42. So I'm on this next 7-year journey, which is 42 to 49, which is so exciting. I mean, I wake up every day going, I love life, So I'm not answering your question except to say that
I was thinking about that.
is that if I were to go through those different phases, I could find somebody. My parents have obviously been very influential. All those values I shared earlier.
Yes.
Extremely committed, hardworking, positive, no whining, no BS, get it done, win. That was kind of the mantra in my household.
Okay.
And they've lived it. They have walked the talk my entire life. And then I've had business coaches that have been incredibly in my face. I don't know how I've sought those people out. And it's interesting. I think these people come up for us all the time. The question is, are we open?
Right.
Are we open for leadership? I've always wanted to be a leader since I was little. I was the bossiest kid on the playground.
Okay.
But the question is, leaders have to be good followers.
Yes.
You know, as a leader, who's filling your cup? Who's
Right.
your mentor? Who are you looking up to? And I've been really fortunate that I've had some tough leaders that have gone in my face, that are willing to shake me up. And I've also been fortunate that I've been willing to be open to that, to have thick enough skin to take it, not to like completely turn into a puddle on the floor.
Right.
So I would say, you know, some of those coaches, and then just, you know, my husband has been like, you know, we're just so different. And he shows me what it means to just love wholly. And like, what I mean by that, when I talked earlier about freedom of being able to like just live with your heart wide freaking open, to have the security in self, to not edit based on who's the audience and what am I doing, but to just be like living fully out loud. Right. Galen's been that person always. And I think that anybody around Galen is like, feels more emboldened to be like, hey, you know, if Galen could just be Galen and just out there and vulnerable and all the things that he is, like, I can live that way too. Okay. So we've been married 14 years now. So he's been probably my biggest influencer in my life.
And 14 years is, I mean, I've been married 10 years, so I get it.
You get it.
Yeah.
2 7-year cycles, baby.
That's right. That's right. You get some trophies there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's, I'm going to ask you a fun question. What's a superpower that you always wish you had?
I would love to fly.
Yeah?
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? Do you watch birds and go, what would our world be like without birds?
I watch them. Yeah, I watch them, and I just watch them like just float against the, you know, the current and just like float there. They're probably just looking. They got the best views.
I don't sit around and like daydream that often. I'm not one that will just get lost in that way, but I wish I was. I think life would be cooler.
Yeah. Well, there's some interesting ideas when you just let your mind wander. There is. Okay. What about, we talked about values. Oh, here's a good one. What is your definition of a good company culture?
Oh, a good company culture? Mm-hmm. I think is where it feels like family. Okay. And it's people that you really want to step up your game for. So early on, somebody said, Shayla, are you building a Fortune 500 company? Or are you building a Fortune 500 family? And without question, it's family. To me, that means that we have each other's backs. There's no bitching and whining. There's no pecking order. There's no ego saying, well, that's not my job. Yeah. Or, you know, that's beneath me or anything. Like, listen, if there's stuff on the floor, pick it up. If the phone is ringing, answer it. It's a pride of this is who we are and this is how we show up. And it's a swagger. And it's taking total ownership. Like, my bad, I screwed up and no one's crucifying me for it. You know, I cannot stand blaming the underwriter this, the processor that, or, you know, scapegoating. None of that stuff. Like, just do your best every day, get better, own it, love other people, say thank you. I think is a big thing. And then I constantly like to surround myself with people that are striving for excellence and they're badasses because it makes me be better. Oh, totally. I love hiring people that intimidate me because I respect them so much and I have to be worthy of them following me. Yes,
I agree 100%. I always tell people, especially when you look at the team, it's like, I'm definitely not the smartest in the room. Yeah. I think that's one of my powers is that I am not intimidated by other people being better than me. Yeah. How about you read constantly? I know that about you. Mm-hmm. Are there books that stand out to you? And I know you, I mean, just so you guys know something about her is you probably, how many books do you read a month?
Yeah, four or five probably. Yeah, I read a lot of books.
The standouts.
You know, a great book for me recently has been Essentialism. Okay. Have you read this one?
No, I have not.
It talks about just boiling our life down to like what is essential. Okay. I think that, you know, the challenge of living modern life is how much noise there is, right? I mean, it trips me out. I think we're in like this technology, like middle zone, which is the messiest. We're in the messiest zone. I mean, I have a WhatsApp inbox, a Teams inbox, a text inbox, 3 email inboxes, a Signal inbox, Instagram inbox. I don't even look at Messenger. That's 8 inboxes that somehow are supposed to be and then we're going to be present and we're going to be like in the moment. I mean, it's just a mess. So essentialism really helps boil down what is essential, what is a hell yes. And if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And when we can really hone in on that, it's incredibly powerful. So that was a really good book for me. I finished it and literally started over and read it again.
Oh, I like that.
I gave you the book, The Almanac of Raval Navikant.
Yeah, I've read that twice.
Isn't that a great book?
That's a good book. Yeah.
I love it.
That's one of those. I love so what is a good book to me is when you can open any page and you learn something. That's one of them. So yeah, really, really good.
I love the book Conversations with God.
Okay.
I don't think it's religious at all, but it's spiritual.
Sure.
I even have it on Audible, and I will randomly pick up this book on any chapter, and I swear to you, it's talking about the fundamentals of relationships and about just the truth, right? It's just like truth bombs. It's really crazy.
Truth bombs, okay.
And the other day I was in the sauna and I was like, I don't know. So, some days when you just feel like there's just rattling, there's noise going on. I was like, what's going to allow me to calm? Is it a meditation? Is it what kind of book? Is it a, YouTube of some of these people? And I just turned it on and it was talking about just the laws of relationships, of like what is the exchange of relationships? I don't know. It's just like kind of really mind opening stuff.
Yeah, no,
it's really good.
I'm into thinking about relationships, all different types. And I think that when I was younger, I didn't really care, honestly. I mean, we've been truthful with each other. So, and all the phases, there was a phase where I was scared. Mm-hmm. Then there was a phase where I became skilled. Mm-hmm. Then right before I became a leader, I was kind of a bully.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. I was like very hardcore, like too hardcore. It wasn't me, And then in order to be a true leader, so when I was in commission sales at Sprint, and the next level is you don't get a commission anymore. Yeah. You get paid just on what they make. Like no base salary, nothing. So I couldn't depend on myself to do it. So I had to truly lead, and I couldn't be a butthole. Yeah,
no buttholes and no bullies. That doesn't work.
No, so
that's interesting. But I've definitely been through all those phases as well.
Yeah,
I've definitely, when you asked about being a female and what's a meeting like with a woman versus a man, that's a really interesting question.
Mm-hmm. I think about this a lot because honestly, when I got into sales and I looked like this, right? Yeah. And even though I think I'm dressed professionally, if I go up to a lady in a I don't know, a bar, maybe I'm at a bar. Yeah. There's all these frames that people have in their mind, so they immediately think I'm picking up on them.
Right.
Now, even if I'm at a grocery store or a movie theater or whatever, so I was messing with my look a lot. I was trying to, I'm not professional enough. My look is sending the wrong signal. Yeah. But there's different things. Like when you try and build a professional relationship with a woman, the first thing that you got to do is you've got to make sure that they know that you're a professional. Yeah. You've got to meet with them a couple times to reinsure that, and then you try and meet with their spouse. Yeah. So then you can really go forward and like really get some business done.
It's interesting because I don't put myself obviously in the position of a man to say like, what do you guys have to go through? What is the perception of what you are, gonna do or who you are before you even open your mouth?
It's pretty awkward.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I haven't really thought of that.
It can be.
Yeah.
Like, what's your phone number, Shayla? And it's like, whoa.
Who are you?
Yeah, exactly. I'm a realtor. Oh, sure, you're a realtor. Yeah. So it's funny. It's funny like that. So I've worked on that for myself and for the guys, and I think that's why there's so many women on my team. Yeah. That's
well, and I think when women really understand the power of femininity as it's brilliant. Right. And I think that the only thing that holds us back is this whole guilt of who should I be? And, if I'm too driven, am I not a good enough mom? Am I too aggressive? Do I need to appear more meek? Do I need to not speak up? Am I, if I'm too this way, I'm a bitch. If I'm too that way, I'm a wimp. It's the same thing that guys are thinking the same thing, which is what you're sharing with me, is that if I'm too direct, then I'm aggressive, or I'm, it could be perceived as unsafe or hitting on somebody. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. I think what I tell the ladies, and you help me with them a lot, so I appreciate that very much. But I talk to them and I say that it's an energy thing. Yeah. Whatever you're open to in your life comes through no matter what you're doing, whether you're selling or whether you're trying to meet somebody. So you've got to turn those things on and off.
Interesting.
And if you turn that part of you off when you're out selling, then the signals won't get confused.
Yeah.
The other thing is that like I coach them.
You're talking sexual energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever read Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think chapter 13 talks about sex transmutation.
You mentioned something to me about that when I had this hilarious situation I talked to you about on my team, and the chapter is chapter 11.
Chapter 11 is chapter 11.
Chapter 11.
Yes.
I reread that. But I've read it a couple times, but there's some crazy stuff in there. You know, honestly, the chapter actually focuses on that being the secret to success.
Yeah, channeling that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And not just channeling and staying focused. And
Yeah.
and again, it always goes back down to what is your identity? What is your intention? Like
What's
you said,
your intention?
That's the energy that comes across. Like, I'm here and I mean business and I want to be competent and I want to solve your problem and I want to help you. Like, people figure that out in seconds.
Right.
Like, it's an unconscious thing.
So here's a funny thing. If you're single and you're trying to make sales and you're trying to meet people, if you don't focus on that, if you don't focus on separating that when you're out doing sales calls,
right.
there's a lot of stuff that has to be unraveled. So it's interesting. I focus on that a lot because I think that that's not talked about enough.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier. Once you figure that out, you can be confident in what you do and not have to worry about all that stuff. I mean, because it's silly.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting near the end. I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
What was the most meaningful gift that you received that was under $100 in the last couple of years? It's a good one, right?
It's a hard one. I don't know, because gifting is not my love language. So it's like,
I'm terrible. I get whooped. That's like how I'm getting whooped right now in the core.
and by gifting,
My gifting whole thing is sex
yeah.
that you've received,
You know,
not given.
Josh made me a blanket that he took pictures from my Instagram and then he put it on this blanket. We hung it on the wall. That was kind of cool. I don't honestly, there's nothing that stands out for me. Even like gifts that my family gives me. And Galen gave me a road bike a couple of years ago, which was really cool because it scared him to have me on a road bike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he bought me a road bike.
Nice. That's all right.
I don't know. Like, you know, I think about this. I'm same as you. I went to a meeting in Utah the other day and I was given a Stanley that was engraved by them. But, you know, that's kind of like a coveted thing right now. And I thought, oh, how cool.
Yeah.
But is it really meaningful? No. Is like any kind of food gift or consumable? No. You know, books. I love books. People gift me books and that's meaningful, but memorable? No.
Yeah. I get it. It's hard. It's hard. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? How about as far as you coming up, what is the biggest failure that actually set you up for success?
Well, I don't know it was a failure that I controlled, but the second mortgage company that I worked for ended up closing down.
Yeah.
And I think they could have chosen to stay open and keep me there. And I was successful at the time. I thought I was kicking ass.
Yeah.
And they chose not to. And I was very frustrated. It hurt my feelings. I got very emotional about it. I felt disrespected. I felt unappreciated. But everything's either an obstacle or an opportunity.
Right.
And often the obstacle is the way.
Yes.
And so that obstacle forced me to go, okay, like either I'm out of this industry because if this is how these people are, I don't want to be a part of it.
Right.
Yeah, I can make good money and I'm good at it, but I don't want to be around people that treat me like a number, that have no appreciation for the sacrifice I'm making, that aren't really partners with me. Like it really pissed me off, but sometimes it takes us getting pissed to get really clear about what we do want. What is that hell yes?
Yeah.
And so that event happening to me back in 2009 allowed me to go, okay, what am I really doing? What am I building? Why am I good at this? Why do I want to do this? And it gave me total clarity. And I interviewed 9 different mortgage companies to decide who to go to work for. I was very, very, very careful about it. And I now say, and I believe this, that choosing Guild Mortgage was my second best decision to marry Galen.
Yeah.
Because I've been aligned with people for 14 years that have pushed me and encouraged me and challenged me, and that I've wanted to be a better leader for, and that have empowered through them doing what they do really well and what I do really well to kick ass.
Okay.
So it felt like a failure because if I was that good, they would have kept me open. You know, it felt like there was something I must have done wrong.
I felt that way at Sprint.
Yeah.
I was top 3 in the company and it was 2009 and they were just cutting back. It wasn't about us. It was about shareholders and things way above our pay grade. But I felt that you said a word that's almost like the F word, and that's feeling disrespected.
Yes.
Ugh. I felt disrespected before, and I think that's terrible. I think that's terrible. But I mean, you're here and you killed it.
And so did you.
Oh yes. Yeah. It's been a journey. I'm still on it, you know?
Me too.
So someone coming in who's smart, okay? Like a smart LO or a smart real estate agent, what piece of advice would you give them, especially in today's environment? Like what's
the best loan officer and the best realtor is not the highest paid or most successful loan officer or realtor. And when I heard that, it pissed me off because I really felt like after doing this for 6 years and never having a teammate, never having a processor, and me wanting to know every bit, part, and piece of this thing and being highly accountable. I mean, I had 2 phones in my ears. There was nobody in my mind that worked as hard as I did, that knew my shit like I did, that was, was committed. And then I heard that and I looked around and I'm like, wow, that is true. Yeah. So you could get stuck in smart land and overanalyzing and being perfectionist and never delegating and never building a team. And it's all about me. Or you could bust through those things. And for me, that was the difference. It was to first say, no, I'm a salesperson that happens to sell mortgages or sell real estate. So what does it mean to be a great professional salesperson? What habits, routines, what time management do I have if I'm a professional salesperson who happens to sell loans and is really freaking good at doing loans?
Yeah.
And that changed dramatically. And then second, what does it mean to be a good leader? Mm-hmm. That what's the result of being a good leader? That people stay with me a really long time, that people refer me, that they are growing under my leadership, that I truly trust them, that I can hand it over and that I can delegate, and that we as a team can be better. So anyway, I think that, being smart can lock us down.
Oh yeah.
Being the smartest person in the room, being the best in the room can at some point you will hit your ceiling and realize that you can't go very far by yourself.
I love that. All right. Well, this has been great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree.
Before we go, what I know that you're doing, you mentioned that you're doing the, what's that called? Fanatical Prospecting book. You're reading the book, but it's Instagram private channel. What's your Instagram?
So my Instagram is at Shay Giff, Giff. The challenge is basically whoever wanted to sign up with me, it's free. We're going to do 23 weeks because there's 23 chapters of this book. Okay. You're going to buy the book for $25 and you're going to read a chapter a week. Okay. And I'm holding myself accountable as a leader to sending my breakdown of that chapter, my lesson, whatever, every Sunday with a video and maybe some pointed questions about, how are you? What is your reflection about your practice, given what we just learned? Okay. I'm also texting people in the group every Monday and Friday with a little motivational message. And I'm hosting once a month an open line Zoom call where we just had ours a couple days ago here, where I'm teaching them these fundamental things, like how do you show up in a meeting and how do you get to the next meeting? Yeah. And on and on about prospecting. So I'm loving it because I think this is the thing. It is all of us looking in the mirror and saying, I am a salesperson. Yeah. And being proud of that and, being professional and the best of class as a salesperson.
I love that. You and I are totally in line with the whole sales thing. I'm crazy about sales. The whole next appointment thing, you get to the next appointment by making the next appointment. Yeah. before you let them go. And all these things that we just say, a lot of people don't know. So I think it's amazing that you're doing that. Is there anything else you've got going on that you want to tell the audience?
Well, that Fanatical Prospecting as well, I do have a channel on my Instagram page. So for people who didn't sign up before but want to follow along, I do put the weekly newsletters in there. I just posted the recording of the call that we just hosted. So you can kind of follow along through Instagram and the channel. Other than that, I'm speaking a bit more. I'm hosting an event in November called the Loan Officer Retreat. I do it every single year. Okay. I'm opening that up to guests now. Normally it's just closed to my team only. Okay. But we'll have about 75 loan officers. I always get great people, super top producers to speak about what I think they're doing best right now to be successful. Love that. And then I'm bouncing around. I'm learning and absorbing like a maniac. Yeah. You and I are going to go to an event the beginning of December with like some of the best realtors in the nation.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I just, again, being around people who strive for excellence. Right. And who are smarter than us and absorbing. And then now it's about execution. How do you learn all this stuff and then go execute one or two things and execute one or two things?
So I got one last question for you. So we've talked about being stuck in Smartland.
Yes.
Talked about analysis paralysis. In your mind, who is the person who's going to make it through this and who's going to thrive during this time? And I believe we talked about this offline before we got on this podcast, is like this. I believe this is a time of opportunity.
Yeah.
I remember I got smashed in the '09 thing. I was all in the stock market. We've talked about this. I mean, we both did. And I told myself then, the next time it happens, it's going to be different. So I'm excited. But as far as people who aren't as established or don't have didn't go through it before, who's going to make it right now? What's your answer?
I think the people who are stubborn as hell and who aren't procrastinating. You know, that whole saying, just do it.
Yeah.
We all know. I mean, look, you want to close 10 deals? Everybody could sit down and write a business plan saying, what is it going to take? Where's the business going to come from? Where am I going to meet them? How many meetings do I need to have?
Right.
How many people I need to call? We all can do that. The question is, are we going to procrastinate? Are we going to get up tomorrow and make progress on our goals? And just be stubborn, which means like, I'm just going to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, irregardless of the result. Yeah. I'm going to look at that. How many appointments do I make a week? You know, on Sunday, am I going to look at my calendar ahead and say, how am I set up for the week? How do I grind it out? You know, what's scary to me is how many people are getting out of the business to a 40-hour-a-week job, but they never put 40 hours a week into their own freaking business.
Right.
Where they can make unlimited money and have, I mean, it just blows my mind. But yet they will go work for someone else on the clock for 40 hours a week.
I like the people who are starting their side hustles. So they're taking their savings. And you and I go through personal budgets and stuff like that. And they're unloading all this savings on this secondary business that can't make a fraction. If you made 2 sales, you would recoup, but they're just not focused.
Yeah. Some of the best coaching I had, because I'm entrepreneurial and you know me, I did the vitamin deal. And then I started all kinds of other things at the beginning of my mortgage career because I kind of thought this was just another like side thing and you got to have 3 or 4 streams of income and all this BS.
Yeah.
The truth is, get really good at this one thing.
Right.
I mean, I've built all my wealth getting really good at this one thing and then investing in the stock market with somebody who's really good at that.
Yeah.
And that's it. I just keep the main thing. And this is an industry that doesn't care how long you've been doing it, how old you are,
right,
where you went to college. It's an industry that rewards that ingenuity and hustle and, desire to get better every day. And I love it for that.
Same. All right. That's it. Thank you so much, Shayla.
Thank you. Super fun.